You're watching Oilers Nation every day with Tyler Yaremchuk. Your one-stop shop for all things Oilers.
At one point, it felt like just a dream, like it would never happen. But tonight, we will finally see four nations face off. Let's get into it with the lead. Welcome into Oilers Nation every day, live from the Sports Closet studio. Check them out online, sportscloset.ca. The show's a presentation of Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. I can hear Liam laughing, so you might as well bring him on the show. What's going on?
We're very fortunate people to be living in this time, you know?
Yeah.
Four nations facing off tonight,
Liam. 6 o'clock mountain puck drop between Canada and Sweden. The first two teams to face off in this tournament. I'm excited. Like I said, we've talked about it a bit now on the show. And Frank Seravalli's in Montreal. I just did Daily Face Off live with him. He'll pop on in a few minutes here. But it'll be fun, Liam. Like the vibes. Even I was down at the rink today. Like there's people walking around in Canada jerseys. Like it's cool.
I think people are underestimating how competitive some of these players are. And Canada has a lot of guys that are going to drag guys into the battle who have represented Canada before. Like, I cannot see a scenario where guys like Brad Marchand and Drew Doughty are just going to be like, whatever. It's just 2 weeks of playing some shinny hockey. Like, no, those guys are highly competitive athletes who have represented Canada before on the main stage. And I'm, now that we're here, I'm quite excited for it to go. But I'm also pretty disappointed in you, Tyler. We've been sat here now for about 22 minutes, and not once have you commented on my fresh new haircut.
Oh, I didn't even, I'm usually so good at noticing haircuts too. Sorry, buddy.
That's okay. You noticed Jay's the other day and he was wearing a hat, but here I am fully exposed and you can't even say, hey, nice haircut.
Well, I'll put you in an even worse mood with some breaking news, Liam. Devin Shore has cleared waivers.
Well, that is devastating.
Devastating, some would say. All right, we got a lot to get to today. It is a Sherwood Ford Giant Game Day edition of the show as Canada will begin their quest for the Four Nations trophy. Shout out to our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant. Not only are they Edmonton hockey fans, they're Canada hockey fans. And when you go to the dealership, it's hockey fans helping hockey fans. It's beautiful. Take advantage of the Nation Valet service. Book online, sherwoodford.ca. In the comments, say Oilers Nation Valet. And not only are you going to get yourself a free Oilers Nation prize pack, but you're also going to get entered into a draw to come with us on the Nation vacation to Vegas coming up at the end of March. Shout out to Sherwood Ford the Giant and their unbelievable valet service. Liam, let's dig into some comments here. Let's see how the people are feeling. Mike D got the first comment of the day. He said, "Can't wait to watch the chat argue about goaltending again when Stan Bowman has already said they're not going to get one." We'll save that for when Frank comes in. P Soup is in. Trade all the picks for Dobson, and we won't be talking about goalies in June. We will also ask Frank about what that Dobson thing kind of means. People giving us credit because we're back, or we started the show on time. That's because Aaron's back. Bordsy's back in the control room there. So we're back. We're dialed in.
What up, everybody? I'm back.
How was the Waste Management Open, Aaron?
Probably the coolest thing I've ever been to in my life. Really? I don't know how they heard that many. There's like 100, 200,000 people on that Saturday. I was never squished. I had the time of my life and got super sunburned.
Fair.
But great trip. Everything was awesome. Bachelor party trip of a lifetime. Ty, Liam, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I've always wanted to see a golf tournament. I've never been to one. I was talking with Amber, and it's like, okay, we're both kind of like golf nerds. So I was like, would we enjoy Waste Management, or do we want to go like to a more classic event? But it did look like a great time. I mean, I saw some of your pictures in your Instagram stories, Aaron. You were letting loose.
Oh, I was in one the entire time. I don't even feel human right now, but I'm happy to be back. Go Canada. Let's ride.
Did you do anything crazy?
I did a lot of things crazy, but I can't say them on the show.
All right. Well, on that note, back to the comments. Final buzzer is in. Anybody else think this is just going to be a shined up All-Star game? I couldn't disagree with that anymore. It's not going to be like that. These players care, and Aiden put in a comment, said the players don't put on these national team jerseys and not play 110%. It will be great games. So yeah, I'm more on the lines of that. I think this is going to be great. Jordan Binnington is going to get the start. Liam, again, Frank's going to join us in a little bit, but what do you make of Binnington getting the call?
I'm fine with it, to be honest. I think it's actually probably a good pick. If I really the more I thought about it, I love the attitude Jordan Binnington could potentially bring to this team. Just like that bit of arrogance and like getting in the face of maybe some of the forwards that come in on him. Like, and he can back it up as well. I know there's been a lot of conversation about the goaltending for this tournament, and rightfully so. Like the crease definitely isn't as high caliber as it could be, but Binnington and Hill are both Stanley Cup champions, and Montembeault is obviously the kind of the odd man out there. But as great as the U.S. goaltenders are, not one of them has won a Stanley Cup, and Adin Hill and Jordan Binnington were kind of big reasons why their teams were able to get there.
Yeah, and Southpaw says Binnington has that dog in him. And yeah, I agree. And you mentioned his attitude. Like, you hate it when Jordan Binnington is not on your team, but you love it when he is on your team, and he's going to have the Canada sweater on. And you know what? If he makes a big save and he's chirping Adrian Kempe or doing whatever he does, like, we're going to love it tonight. So again, I like the decision to go with Binnington. I was looking back through some of the numbers being like, okay, is there a trend here? Is one of these guys, Hill or Binnington, is one of them playing better hockey as of late? And honestly, the answer is no. Since January 1st, they are both below a 900 save percentage on the season. Neither of them have particularly strong numbers, and each of them coming into this tournament in 3 of their final 5 starts had save percentages below 900. So I honestly, Liam, like, I think this is just purely a gut call from John Cooper. And when you look at the attitude and the swagger of these two guys, as you kind of pointed out, it's very easy to tell who the gut feel guy should be. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. And also, what's Adin Hill save percentage? Just like sub 900, like you said, right? It's like 890, whatever. Like,
not even
St.
the best
Louis
Canadian goalie on his team.
What was that, sorry?
He's not even the best Canadian goalie on his team. Joel Hofer has better numbers than him.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, I don't know. Do you know Joel Hofer was Stuart Skinner's backup back in junior as well?
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, I don't know. I honestly think it'll be okay. This Canada blue line is so good that I think they're going to be able to, like, block out a lot of the conversation on the goalies.
Well, and that's the other thing, too. We talked about this yesterday, and it's like, how many shots on goal is this Canada team even going to give up? Like, if they're, and I'm assuming they're the home team tonight. I don't know exactly how it works. Let me pull it up. Okay, I think Sweden is listed as the official home team, so Canada won't have last change, but still, you can sit there and, like, Anthony Seravalli is your 4th-line centerman. That is going to be a good defensive line. I actually would have loved the idea of putting Seth Jarvis with him, too, but, like, you can go Seravalli against any line on the other team and feel very confident in it and kind of cherry pick your matchups for both the Crosby-McKinnon duo and the Connor McDavid line. So again, it's this Canada team is really good. I think these players will care. How many shots will they be giving up a game? Like, goaltending might not have to be that much of a factor because Binnington might only have to stop 3 or 4 high danger looks in a game. Like, if Canada's playing that well, that's how it'll work. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to underestimate what Sweden could be, but you're kind of like, you should be able to get past Sweden, especially, and Finland especially, but you're kind of just looking for a big performance against the U.S. That's what you need for the most part, right? To really get through and then go to the final, and then you need to obviously perform from there. But hey, maybe Hill just gets a start on Saturday against the U.S. as well. Or as Cooper mentioned, Binnington is just a starter, or is it just for this game?
Just for this game. And I do think, what are the situations here? There's a couple of pretty clear cut and dry scenarios. Like, if Binnington goes out and makes 25 saves and Canada wins the game 5-1, you're obviously going with that guy against Team USA. If Jordan Binnington gives up 5 goals tonight and you lose, you're probably going with Adin Hill Saturday night against USA. But where it would get interesting, Liam, is if Canada were to win the game 6-5, right? And it's, or 5-4, and Binnington only faces 20 shots and maybe lets in 2 stinkers. And it's like, okay, what do you do there? What do you do if he doesn't play good, but they win? Do you keep riding him and say, hey, we're going to give him a chance to settle in? Or do you sit there and pull the pin? Because in a short tournament, again, you kind of got to be decisive.
Yeah, you probably need to be pretty ruthless with it, to be honest. And if you, it depends on the goals too, right? I mean, if 4 of those goals are straight up breakaways from whatever team it is that they're facing, and you probably give Binnington the benefit of the doubt. But if he's lighting in some stinkers, like, I think you go from there. I'm not really basing performances off save percentage in this. It's like, What shots are you stopping, and what's going in?
Yeah. Also to the guy in the YouTube chat who just kept going, I'm going to spam you guys with comments about Dustin Schwartz until you talk about him. We've talked about Dustin Schwartz so much on this show over the last 6 months that I have zero reason to waste my breath on that. So that was the easiest put a commenter in timeout I think I've ever had to make.
We literally spoke about it I think it was yesterday, the day before, when Chris was making those comments. Like, go look at the goalies. During Dustin Schwartz's tenure, the goalies have actually been pretty good. If you look at the save percentage, I think Mike Smith had a 923 one year, or Koskinen, whichever one of them was. It's not that bad. Also, get over it. It's a goaltending coach.
Yep. Davin is in. It's going to be so much fun cheering for this team, referencing Team Canada. So let's keep the Four Nations talk going and go to the Star Mechanical guest line, Edmonton's #1 plumbing and heating company. You can find out more about them and everything they do in the Edmonton area by visiting them online at starmechanical.ca. It is Wednesday, which means it's time for Frank Mechanical as we bring in our daily face-off insider, Frank Seravalli, live from his hotel room in Montreal. Frank, how are you enjoying the first few days in Montreal?
It's been great. Tyler, for being someone from Edmonton, you seem to have been quite cold here. You said it's a different cold. But look, getting set for this and seeing how excited the players are. I know a lot of people have been lukewarm on this tournament, but I'm ready to go. And I think just this opener enough is a pretty tasty appetizer with what's going to be on the line.
Yeah, do you think there's a chance that maybe some Canadian hockey fans, I won't even say that there's a chance. I think some Canadian hockey fans are looking past this matchup against Sweden and going, just get me to Saturday night, get me to Canada, USA. But I think that's dangerous, man. This Sweden team's good.
I think they've got arguably the best defense top to bottom in this tournament. They've got size, they've got meanness. And if you're looking to play against Canada and be successful, they've got some traits that could make them key in on that. You know, we've talked all week long on the Daily Faceoff Live show and previewing this tournament about how Canada is very likely to control the puck and the pace of play and time of possession in this tournament. They're an offensive superpower juggernaut team with superstars all over the lineup that have won and been successful. You have to find ways to break up plays and kill plays. And when you have guys like Victor Hedman and Matthias Ekholm and others on that Swedish blue line, those are the types of players that you need to try and combat that. I have real questions. Yes, the U.S. defense can skate. They're not very big, and they're not very physical. Are they the best team equipped? Is it more of a track meet if it's U.S. Canada? If it's Sweden, they have a chance to not. But they can be in a position where they have a chance to win.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Liam, you got one?
I was just going to ask you on the Canadian team. We spoke to Louis DeBrusque yesterday about Connor McDavid's line mates, and obviously it's Sam Reinhart and Mitch Marner. Do you think that's the perfect wing partners for McDavid at this tournament?
I mean, no one's Zach Hyman. That's first off, and Hyman should have been there. I'll say that point blank. Should have been there over Konechny, should have been there over Sam Bennett. And it's not for some of the reasons you might think. The chemistry is great, and obviously the finishing touch that Zach Hyman obviously has and frankly put on display after not being selected for Team Canada. It's what I think they're really going to miss most from not having Zach Hyman is the press player ability that we've talked about with him. He's the premier press player in the league, forechecking. He's an animal turning the puck over. And that's what Canada needs is hounds to go out and get the puck, to get it to their star players. Can Mitch Marner be that? He's definitely not the same player. Does he have poise and control? Of course. And does he compete and work hard? Yes. And he's defensively responsible. It'll be really interesting to see who's going to do that part of the job for Canada, because the name of the game is when you don't have the puck, you got to go get it back. And for my money, there's very few players in the league that I'd select before Zach Hyman for that one specific task. And when you have someone like him who just happens to have the side benefits of having chemistry with McDavid, you want as many of those pairs as possible. You know, Taves to play with Makar and guys that are familiar with each other. And I just think it was a miss, but I'm going to say that now, and I won't say it again the rest of the tournament.
Obviously, Canada USA is the game that everyone's excited for on Saturday night. That's a major storyline here, is who's going to come out on top. But what's number two maybe on your list here? Is it getting to see Crosby play with McKinnon? Is it, like, for me, I think Miller versus Pettersson next Monday in a game that if Canada beats USA and Sweden, like, that's basically a semifinal, Sweden USA next Monday night, and the Miller Pettersson storyline I think will be great. But what's kind of number two on your list?
Yeah, I think that would probably be it. I mean, it's almost like the two paths in this tournament, if we can all agree that Finland is the weakest link. For Canada and the US, they're kind of flipped, right? Canada gets the tough non-USA game to start, and they're kind of in the pressure cooker. And that's the, sort of really fun hypothetical to play out. What if Canada loses tonight to Sweden 3-2 or something like that? All of a sudden, the U.S. has a chance on Saturday night to end their tournament. The U.S. gets to ease their way into this tournament with Finland on Thursday and then gets Canada on Saturday. So, but the pressure then will be if the U.S. loses to Canada on Saturday, which I think we could all see happening, then you've got Sweden on Monday, or else you're out of the tournament. So it's kind of, the two things are flipped. You either start with it or you end with it. And I think I'd much rather start with it, but we'll see.
We got a comment here quickly from Hurtin Albertan, who said, how do these guys strike a balance between playing good hockey and making sure they don't hurt each other? I don't think that's going to be on their minds at all, Frank.
No, this is a no-holds-barred tournament. There's no wading into it. There is no, hey, but I'm really good friends with that guy and he's on my team and we're just going to pull up at the last second. This isn't an all-star weekend. This is playing for keeps, and this is big boy hockey. So when you've got best on best, the 1%ers in the NHL, this is going to be, I'm telling you, some of the best hockey that you'll see in terms of competition, because guys aren't going to be taking their foot off the pedal. Matthew Tkachuk was already talking about it. He called it 4 game sevens. He said this takes him right back to the Stanley Cup final, which I'm sure, for someone that's gone deep in 2 consecutive playoff runs for the Florida Panthers, I don't know if you want to get to that in February, but it's going to be fun to see everyone ramp up to that, because I think they know when the puck drops that it's for real.
I think people are massively undervaluing what it means to actually play international hockey, to be honest. Like, we're talking about a Canada team with Brad Marchand and Drew Doughty on it, like 2 of the best competitors in the NHL. And you just mentioned the Kachucks as well, guys like JT Miller. Like, it does mean something, but I guess to flip it onto the Oilers a little bit too, I don't really know how much of a rumor this is, but there was some speculation that Noah Dobson might be available from the Islanders, and he switched agents today to, I think, Judd Moldova, who is Connor McDavid's agent, right? So is that legit? Like, could Noah Dobson be available?
I don't have any indication that Noah Dobson is available. I don't really understand why, from a New York Islander perspective, that he would be available. If you're trying to reboot this thing and become a team that 2 or 3 years from now could be a playoff team, you're going to need Dobson, you're going to need Sorokin, and you're going to need Barzal. And I don't know how they can do it otherwise. That said, he's also going to be very expensive, so you're going to have to account for that. But they should have plenty of room once they start shedding some salaries and begin paring this down a little bit, that it shouldn't be problematic for them to pay him kind of whatever he's looking for. And if there's going to be another defenseman move, I would think it would be, a Scott Mayfield or someone like that that's on a relatively inexpensive deal, potentially with a little bit of cost certainty, that makes a lot more sense for the future of the New York Islanders. So I don't have any indication that he's available. And this isn't to pour cold water on anyone's reporting or what's been out there, but I would tell you, and I would write it in Sharpie and I would underline it 6 times, anyone who's telling you that they know what the New York Islanders are thinking or doing or working on is flat out lying to your face.
Only Lou and God, right, Frank?
That's my line, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah,
only
I like that.
Lou and God know. That's it.
while we're doing the rumor thing, our chat just every day, Frank, they fight with each other about the John Gibson thing. And there's this talk and there's reports going around that, he wouldn't mind going to Edmonton, but he wants to be a number one. He doesn't want to be in a tandem. Like it feels messy. It feels tough to do. Do you think there is a path or a world where John Gibson ends up being an Oiler?
I do not. For one, even if he wants to be there, his big goal is to be a number one goalie. And as long as Stuart Skinner's there, I don't see anything other than a tandem path. Two, the Oilers can't afford him. They can't even afford him at half price. That's the big thing about this Edmonton Oilers deadline that I don't feel like is being talked about enough. You've got Evander Kane, and I think we're all thinking, hey, it's like a foregone conclusion. This guy's just going to be on LTIR until the playoffs. The more I talk to people around the league, that is not a certainty. And the Oilers truly do not have an idea or an answer yet, and may not get one until the week before the deadline as to whether or not they can spend that money. If they can't spend that money, we're talking about dollar in, dollar out. You could take John Gibson and, frankly, any goaltending addition or acquisition and just chuck it right out the window because they're not going to have the money to do it. So we know that they have limited assets. We now know that their cap space could be very limited. We're living in a world in which we might be seeing the Oilers make a fourth line center acquisition, and that's it. And I just want to prepare everyone right now for that eventuality, that if you're thinking this is going to be some massive, big, go out and get yourself a Matthias Ekholm addition, it's, first off, look at my trade board. I don't know that exists. And second, there's a real financial reality here with the cap that the Oilers have to get comfortable with.
The cap just seems to be something everyone forgot about. And even if Kane was to go on LTIR, they would still have to ask Anaheim to retain some money. And then you're basically saying, we have no other problems on our team, and Gibson is going to solve everything. But I guess with what you're saying, Frank, that a guy like Ryan Donato feels like a much better option for them, right? He's a $2 million cap hit. They would have the assets to retain on that a little bit too to get it down. But someone in that market is probably what they would look for, right?
I don't think so. I think they would be looking for someone with some size and a different element to bring to the table. I don't know who that person is yet, but I think that would be probably on their list. I was thinking speed at first because there's been such a big difference in speed between this year's team and last year's team. But I do think that they're looking for someone that brings a bit of an edge.
And I think that's fair too. But the idea of them not being able to make 2 or 3 moves, I appreciate you bringing that up, Frank, because I think that is a little bit of a problem with some people right now. They're thinking, okay, yeah, we can go get Gibson, and then we need to add a defenseman too. And it's like, 1, the money, 2, the assets here. Like, again, at some point at a deadline, it's been back-to-back deadlines now. They've traded a first-round pick, and then they also traded their pick at the draft to Philadelphia so they could pick Sam O'Reilly. Like, at some point, you run out of first-round picks and good assets.
I would give the chances that the Oilers could land someone like John Gibson like a 2 or 3% chance.
Okay.
Also because of need. Like, I don't like, if I were to chart their needs, bringing in a goalie of that caliber, so to speak, even though the numbers and history would suggest recently, aside from this season, he's just been very average, that they can't afford it now, and they really can't afford it in the future with the guys that are going to have new contracts kicking in.
Yeah, a couple of big money extensions about to hit the books in the next few seasons here for the Oilers. One more before we let you go, just on the topic of the trades and all that. Is there any team that you're maybe keeping an eye on going, hey, they might be active during this Four Nations break? Because there is no roster freeze. If teams wanted to pull trigger, they could.
I think to start the Four Nations break, I was thinking the Flyers might be one of those teams. I'm really not as convinced anymore, but I'd be curious about the Seattle Kraken. I'd look to potentially the Montreal Canadiens. They were a team that was active last year during the All-Star break. this isn't a moment in time where managers are just sitting on a beach somewhere, sticking their head in the sand. They're actively making calls, trying to get better. But I think the fun part about this deadline is that, yeah, we've seen some big names move, but we also haven't really seen many of the rental, typical trade deadline candidates that would be on the move. We haven't seen those guys traded yet, so there's still plenty left to go.
Fair enough. We did get a comment in here from Calvin Pickard who said, Frank has told us no goalie. Now, can he tell us why he isn't letting Tyler room with him and is making him stay in someone's shed? Not a fan of my backdrop, but that's a king bed behind you, Frank. You can make room for me.
What the heck?
No, I couldn't.
Okay, thanks, Frank. Thanks for doing this, and we'll see you tonight at the game.
See ya.
Bye, Frank.
There you go. Frank and I are also going to be live doing a special post-game show over on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. So make sure you go hit subscribe to that. And I will be sitting probably right in this seat with my night. It's real, Liam.
You can't bring it home, buddy. We're going to need some of that. That makes the same sound as our walls downstairs.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm just gonna move on. But it is I thought it was like a cool Montreal way for me to do the show would be to have like I'm staying in old Montreal, so all the buildings are from like the 1600s or earlier. I don't know. So I don't know. Thought it was like a cool backdrop,
Yeah. 1600s.
Okay, let's get things back on the rails here, Liam. You just keep taking me in all these weird directions. Let's do a lineup report for our friends at Oodle Noodle. You can win your way into the Nation Vacation just by walking into an Oodle Noodle. No purchase necessary. Walk into any Oodle Noodle location in the Edmonton area, and you could win your way onto the Nation Vacation. Also, if you buy yourself a box of noodles, you're going to get a second entry into the draw as well, which is great. If you make that order Tokyo Glaze, by the way, 10% of the order is going to go to our friends at Sports Central as well. Nation Vacation of Las Vegas, presented by Flair Airlines. Big shout out to our friends over at Oodle Noodle. Southpaw says Tyler in a 17th century French dungeon, which is somewhat accurate, I suppose. Anyways, lineups for tonight as Canada takes on Team Sweden. Let's start with Canada. Connor McDavid, Sam Reinhart, Mitch Marner are the top line. Nathan McKinnon with Sidney Crosby and Mark Stone. Braden Point with Seth Jarvis and Brad Marchand. Anthony Cirelli with Travis Konechny and Brandon Hagel. Liam, if Mitch Marner is going to fall off that McDavid line, who do you think is the number one candidate to replace him at some point in this tournament?
Nathan McKinnon. I think they could really just, if it doesn't work, like, does it not make sense? I know McKinnon is maybe playing more center on that second line, but just put Crosby in the middle, throw McKinnon up next to instead of Marner, and put Marner down on that second line. If I have to pick a second guy, it's probably Travis Konechny, I think.
Yeah, I would go with either Konechny, who is trending towards being a scratch tonight, or Brad Marchand. Again, some sort of disruptors who I'd like there. Deep pairings for Canada. Devon Taves with Cale Makar, the Colorado duo. Josh Morrissey with Colton Parayko, and then Shea Theodore with Drew Doughty. Starting between the pipes today for Canada is, as we talked about earlier, Jordan Binnington. For Team Sweden, man, for me, the big difference here is the depth down the middle. Yeah. I don't think Sweden has one centerman. This might be a hot take, might be controversial. Sweden does not have one centerman who is better than Canada's fourth line center, Anthony Cirelli.
Do you know what? I was thinking the same thing. Maybe Joel Eriksson-Ek and him are pretty close. I actually think Eriksson-Ek's probably that best centerman if all around. Elias Lindholm's having a terrible season. We all know about Pedersen. And then, of course, like Zibanejad isn't playing it through standards too. But the wingers are obviously pretty solid.
Yeah, the wingers are kind of their bread and butter. So again, top line, Pedersen with Adrian Kempe and Philip Forsberg, Mika Zibanejad with William Nylander and Ricard Raquel, Joel Eriksson-Ek with Jesper Bratt and Lucas Raymond, Elias Lindholm with Goose Nyquist, and Oiler Victor Arvidsson. Deep pairings, Hedman with Brodin, Ekholm with Karlsson, Forsling with Rasmus Dahlin. It'll be interesting to see actually how much Ekholm gets on the ice with Connor McDavid. Again, can Karlsson keep up with the speed? Do they view Ekholm as the shutdown guy who can go up against 97? That'll be interesting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I could see that bottom pairing being a bottom Baron, being the one that goes up against like your McDavid. I don't know if I want Carlson anywhere near any of those like, top 6 players on Canada, to be honest.
Yeah, Carlson, you're right. The Carlson thing does make it interesting. There were Swedish hockey fans who were saying he didn't even belong on the team. Starting in net tonight for Finland is going to be Philip Gustafsson of the Minnesota Wild. Had a great first 2 months of the season, a rather pedestrian next 2 months of the season for the Oilers. Oh man, we let that guy out of timeout and he's just right back to misbehaving. Anyways, that's your lineup report tonight for our friends over at Oodle Noodle. Liam, let's just as we kind of wrap up the talk about this game, then we'll do a little bit more Oilers talk in a second. Let's give our keys to victory for tonight, brought to you by, let's do Service Credit Union here. The Service Big Share Contest is back, boys, and it's your chance to win $1 million just by saving money. Every $500 you save gets you 5 entries into the Service Big Share Contest. Anyone can enter, and by becoming a member and saving with Service, contest ends April 30th, 2025. For full rules and the skill testing question, visit service.ca/win. Liam, what's your key to victory tonight for Canada?
Just be Canada. I mean, at the end of the day, the offense they have is incredible. Like their fourth line it could be a top line on some of these nations, not just in the 4 nations, but just in general. So yeah, just go out there and play to your high level of ability. And I honestly think this game could be like a 6-2, 5-2. I know Sweden definitely is a quality team and have a lot of good players, but the offense should be able to outmatch anybody.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. I think if you're Canada, and I wrote about it for the site, it's up at Oilersnation.com. It is crazy to look back on that 2014 Sochi team, Liam. How many times do you think in that Olympic gold medal team, they played 3 round robin games and 3 medal round games, so 6 total games. How many times do you think they gave up more than 1 goal?
Wasn't it? I'm going to say 1. 0. 1.
It's 0.
0.
They did not give up more than
below 1 goals against average going into the gold medal game.
Dude, he finished the tournament with a .59 GAA and a .972 save percentage. It was sickening. They beat USA 1-0 in the semifinal. That was Canada's identity 11 years ago at the Winter Olympics. I am telling you that will not be their identity tonight. Not even close. In this tournament, man, they are going to be a high-powered offense. They're going to smother the other team, not by playing good defensive structured hockey, but by just putting their foot on the gas, pedal to the floor, and just steamrolling teams in the offensive zone.
I actually think Canada has a lot to play for at this event. There's been, and the World Juniors has basically been the closest to best on best we've had, and obviously very different levels of hockey. But there's too much of a conversation now. It's always US sneaking up on Canada. It's like, no, let's put that to bed this tournament. Like, Canada is the #1 hockey nation in the world, and I think these guys are going to play for that, to be honest. And as much as it might not mean anything in a few years, it means a little bit of something right now.
Yep. Absolutely. If I could give chart a path to victory for Sweden in this game, you need Philip Gustafsson to be the Philip Gustafsson that they saw early in the season in Minnesota. And it's going to be quick strike offense. I'm looking at guys like Raymond. I'm looking at guys like Kempe. If those speedy wingers can get a couple of odd man rushes, like the counterattack will be how Sweden wins. They're not going to get these big, long 3-minute runs of pinning Canada in their own zone. That's just not going to happen. If they're going to score, it'll be off the rush, beating Jordan Binnington clean. Again, can that happen tonight? I don't think a Sweden wins out of the realm of possibilities. That's obviously a very, very talented team, and it's the first game of the tournament. We haven't seen how Canada gels together on the ice. I think Canada wins. I will do the betting stuff in a second here. I think Canada wins, and I would probably bet on them winning by a couple of goals in this one. But again, you can't look past Sweden. I disagree with Frank, by the way. I think starting this tournament with a really tough test is good for Canada. I wouldn't want to play Finland, blow them out 7-1, and then have USA on Saturday. I think having this, and maybe even having a little bit of a scare, will be good for this Canadian team.
Yeah, I think there's only really one week game, isn't there, anyway? So I think having this is just a good opportunity in that third game, hopefully. If Hill can get a game, or Konechny or Sanheim, whoever it may be, they can play against Finland as well and have the opportunity to represent Canada. But yeah, I think it's actually really nice to start the tournament off this way, and then the Saturday night against the US is going to be really good. I liked what you said as well of that Finland, Canada. What are they called? The other two teams in the tournament. God damn it, I can't believe I messed that up so bad. Sweden.
Come on, Liam. It's
and
only
USA
4 nations
game.
facing off. You should know these names.
It's hard to remember them all. The Sweden and USA game on Monday is going to be a huge game, and I think it's quite good the way they lined it up.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love the way they made the schedule here. Stick taps to the NHL on that. Sherwood Ford Giant question time, Liam. Let's keep it themed on Hockey Canada and Team Canada. The golden goal, obviously, I think for every Canadian hockey fan, that's the peak memory of the last 25 years. But what's number 2 on your list? Outside of the golden goal, what is your favorite Team Canada memory? And I'd love for people in the chat to throw a couple in here as well.
Now, this one is interesting because I don't know if it's necessarily the goal that excited me the most, but do you remember when at the World Juniors, Canada played, I think it was Czechia in the final, and Mason McTavish cleared the puck off the line in overtime, and then they went up the ice. I believe it was Ken Johnson that scored. That's one that really stands out to me in the moment. Was it Dylan Gunther? Dylan Gunther. Oh, yeah, and he didn't take off his gloves. Like that, I thought that was a pretty cool moment. And that's one that stands out. We spoke about pregame, the Haley Wickenheiser comment of, like, would you like us to come and sign your flag? That's ruthless comment.
I'm pretty sure she came out a couple of years ago and was like, we made that up. She was like, I used that as a motivational tactic, like in the room for my teammates, being like, they are stomping on our flag in their room, and it like got everybody going. Taves scoring at will in that shootout in the World Juniors from Fala. I like that. I'm with Matthew, though. To me, it's the Eberle goal against Russia in the World Juniors. Calvin Pickard said that too. Like, Rusty, who is one of our American listeners from Utah, the golden goal is my least favorite Olympic memory. Yeah, I feel you, Rusty. I'm sorry. You can drop in your favorite American international memory, and I'll read it for you just to be nice. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, unfortunately, a lot of my Canada hockey memories come after 2010. So I didn't even live in Canada. I didn't know who Jordan Eberle was when he scored that goal.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, let's keep cruising along here on the show. Yeah, Christopher Palmer says the World Junior Shootout Marathon. I remember that one too. That was crazy. Airbud with a more recent one. Remember that nasty Connor Bedard OT winner against Finland?
Oh, yeah. Oh, with the heartbreak, wasn't that the one?
Yeah, he did the Patty Kane celebration. That was sick. Let's do rumor mill here for our friends at Charm Diamond Centers. You can get a custom ring built and delivered in less than 4 weeks through Charm and their Masterpiece program. You can also apply now for a Charm Diamond Flexity card and get approved for no interest financing on your purchase in minutes. Go to charmdiamondcenters.com. I went to Charm Diamond Centers. Liam went to Charm Diamond Centers, and we're 2-0 on getting yeses. It works.
You could be number 3.
Yeah, I was going to say Liam and I won't be able to find out if we can push it to 3-0. We hope.
Yes, we do.
All right, you've dug up some comparables for Ryan Donato and a potential deal. What did you find?
Yeah, so I think and the reason I went and did this too is a lot of people were throwing around the Oilers would have to give up a first-round pick to get a guy like Donato. I think if they maybe got Donato and Connor Murphy, for example, then yeah, you can throw in your first-round pick for that. But you look back over the years at players with, the way I looked at it was non-salary cap retention and who had a cap that's somewhat similar. There was one last year, Anthony Duclair was right around the same goal totals before he was moved to Tampa Bay. He ended up being for a third-round pick, and Jack Thompson, who is essentially an AHL mid-level at best prospect. The other one I had was, and he has a $3 million cap hit, no salary cap retention, Nino Niederreiter a few years ago to Winnipeg. I believe it was Nashville. It cost him a second-round pick. And then the other one I had, which was interesting, was Max Domi when he went from Chicago to Dallas. Now, he was a $3 million. He was a third-round pick as well for a third-round pick. But Anton Hudobin went to Chicago, and he actually had a higher salary cap than what Max Domi had. So the last season, we did see quite a lot of, we'll call them quality middle six scoring players. Toffoli, Tarasenko, Anthony Mantha was another one. all second-round picks besides Tarasenko, but what needs to be put in on the Tarasenko one is the fact that he said, I'm only going to Florida. So they only paid a third-round pick. But for the 50% retained, they all threw in a fourth-round pick. So if the others just wanted strictly Ryan Donato, they could probably get him for a second-round pick. With 50% retained, they would just have to throw in like a fourth. So it's really, the price tag is really not that bad for a guy that's essentially has 20 goals this season. He's currently has 19.
That's interesting. Hey, I also wonder, Frank talked about Philly, and our guy Anthony DeMarco, shout out to Anthony DeMarco. He was saying the market's maybe heating up for a guy like Scott Lawton. If you're going to give up a second and a fourth for Donato and you view him as being a bottom six piece for you, how much more does Scott Lawton with one more year on his deal cost you? $3 million cap hit. So if Vander Kane's out, he fits in. Not a perfect fit because he's not a lefty, but nonetheless, good defense first kind of centerman that you could throw in your bottom six.
He's not a lefty, you said, right?
He is a lefty.
But he is a lefty. Sorry. I thought you said he's not.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Sorry, I meant to say he's not a righty.
Probably not too much higher. I'm trying to see if there's maybe a bit of a comparable here. Like, how was his cap hit? Sorry, 3 point something?
Just 3 dead on.
Just 3 with an extra year. Like, if you look back to last year, Alex Wenberg was traded 50% retained. That cost him a second and a fourth, but he had a $4.5 million cap hit. So, I don't know. Maybe you can get him for like a second and a third and like a decent prospect.
Well, yeah, like if it's a second and a fourth for Donato or a second and a third for Lawton, give me Scott Lawton, you get him for next season. Again, will the Oilers take even that level of a swing? I don't know. Someone mentioned Pat Maroon. Good Lord, watch a Chicago Blackhawks game because Pat Maroon can't really... listen, friend of the network. He goes on Morning Cup of Hockey once a week, so we love him and great memories as an Oiler. Pat Maroon's not making an impact on a Stanley Cup contender this year. I'm sorry. All right, let's keep. Should we keep going? Should we keep going, Liam?
I think we should keep plugging along here.
Yeah. All right, let's do what's trending for our friends over at the Edmonton Police Service who want to remind you to curb the danger this hockey season and, hey, quite frankly, all the time. Report an impaired driver by calling 911. If you suspect a fellow driver is impaired by drugs or alcohol, do not hesitate. Call 911 immediately. Remember, if it impairs your ability to drive in any way, it is both highly dangerous and illegal. For more information on Curb the Danger, visit edmontonpolice.ca/impaired driving. What's trending, Liam? I saw this hilarious stat. Do you know anything about the Anthony Rendon thing in baseball?
No, I know he was once good on the Washington Nationals.
Yeah, and then he signed a 7-year, $245 million ticket with the LA Angels. And Anthony Rendon was a good defensive third baseman who had a very good bat, pretty close to like a 4 or 5 tool player. Here's his flaw, Liam. He actually doesn't like playing baseball at all, and he likes to get hurt. Since signing that 7-year, $245 million ticket, Anthony Rendon has been eligible to play in 708 games for the LA Angels. He's missed 451 of them. He has been hurt more often than he's been on the field. And this time around, he waited until the day spring training kicks off and pitchers and catchers report to be like, I need hip surgery. I'm out long term. Didn't do it in the offseason. Did it the day the season starts.
Hey, is he cashing his checks?
Checks are cashing.
And he's figured out the system. We're all out here being like, what is this guy doing? How can he not play? That guy's getting richer by the day. Kind of crazy. Maybe the Blue Jays Maybe the Blue Jays will trade for him for some international cap space. That probably adds up as a pretty intelligent thing to do for them, I would say. So are the Blue Jays actually linked to anyone else right now, or are they done?
Well, so there's a report. Alex Bregman is still on the free agent market, and Ken Rosenthal had a report that the feeling is that Bregman's best offers money-wise are from teams he doesn't want to go to, and he's still trying to use those as leverage to end up where he does. You know he's using the Jays as leverage. Like, come on.
It's just a thing to do. Everybody does it. Everybody does it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Also, did you see that fight after the game in the KHL between the two goalies?
Oh yeah, I saw what the other goalie was clearly upset, and he just started like putting fingers in his face and stuff like that. The KHL is just different. Like it was only a few weeks ago we were talking about a guy whose phone came on the ice.
Yeah, that was actually insane. The only other thing I had in what's trending, did you see Brock Nelson's headshot from the Four Nations face-off? He looks like Bill Nye.
Yeah, Bill. Yeah, Brock Nelson, looking like the oldest man in the league, still a great hockey player. Feel like he's very underrated, to be honest. But there was a few headshots out there that people were making fun of. I would say send me a picture when you're 34 years old and we'll see what you look like.
I think I'll continue to have this youthful glow about me.
I would agree. It's hard to imagine you any other way. I did have a what's trending, and this is a few days late. But did you see? And I don't understand how we get to this point on with like celebrations, but Travis Kelce's like ex-girlfriend managed to get on the Super Bowl field to celebrate Philly. Like how are we here? Like how are these people getting down there when people are paying basically their yearly salaries to get in the stands? Like who is this lady?
What's the craziest thing one of your ex-girlfriends has done?
Not that.
Okay. That's what's trending for our friends at the Edmonton Police Service. Let's continue along. We did our keys
I
to
got
victory. Oh, okay, one more.
This one also came from the Super Bowl. You can look up, it's called Eagles Nation, and it's the NFL United Kingdom call of the Cooper DeJean pick six. It is one of the craziest commentary pieces I've ever seen in my entire life. It was so exciting. Aaron, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but if somehow you can find it, I'll retweet it right now because it was amazing if Aaron can't find it. But it was electric, to say the least.
Oh, one more thing for what's trending. Did you see who's coming up on the sheet this afternoon with Jeff Merrick over on the Daily Faceoff YouTube?
Oh, I did. Zachary Martin Hyman, the author.
Yes, the author and Oilers forward Zach Hyman will be on the sheet with Jeff Merrick at, I think, 105 Mountain. So right when this show ends, run over to the Daily Faceoff YouTube. And guess who the second guest on the show is, Liam?
Tyler Yaremchuk.
It's me. I'm batting cleanup for Zach Hyman at 3:40 Eastern, 1:40 Mountain Time. So tune into the sheet with Jeff Merrick, Zach Hyman at 3:05, and then I'll be up at 3:40. Do we have a sneak peek of the Hyman interview, Aaron? Can we give the people that?
We do.
Maybe
Aaron
just a little.
Giving me a nod of the head.
All right, give the people a sneak peek of the Zach Hyman interview.
Whenever I struggled, like I'd say the biggest struggle I've ever had was when I went from junior A to college, and leaving junior A, I was a top prospect. I'd won the junior A player of the year, and I went to college, and I thought I was going to go into college, and I thought I was going to be lighted up and be an NHL prospect right away. And I struggled. I scored 2 goals in 40 games. I had 9 points my first year, and then I had 9 points my second year. And I remember sitting in Red's office, we'll talk about Red Berenson again, and he said, Zach, you just have to keep working, and if you're not scoring, you have to learn how to do something else to be effective for our lineup. And I remember that just stuck with me, being like, okay, I remember going into college and I just thought I was going to score goals, but how can I help the team win in other ways? And I learned how to penalty kill, learned how to block shots. And my dad always said to me, listen, like, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint.
There you go.
Find that full interview over marathon, not a sprint. I like that. Again, everybody in the YouTube chat, calm down. It's pre-recorded. I know that all scares you guys. Dangerous Wade says we should all go and troll Tyler. Please don't do that. That would be rude.
Who said that?
What else? Dangerous Wade said it.
Dangerous Wade. Aaron, do we have that clip? Oh, okay, never mind. Go look at my Twitter.
All
it
right.
is. I did retweet it. It is amazing stuff. Do you want to quickly go into some betting stuff? I think there's an opportunity to win a couple of shillings tonight.
Ooh, all right. Liam's got some betting advice for our friends at Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Liam, what is your way to maybe try win a couple of units tonight?
Okay, well, I think puck line is a really good place to start. I do think we could see some empty netters here to try and push that overtime. Because like you said, there's two points for an overtime win, 1 point for an overtime loss. Still, obviously, a regulation loss is 0. But I was thinking about this today. It's not very often you get plus 180 for Connor McDavid to score a goal, or plus 220 for Sidney Crosby or Braden Point, Mark Stone. I'm looking at goal scorers tonight. I think I'm going to really spread it out here throughout that top 6 and just like, if a couple of them hit, you're probably smooth sailing. Like the best odds, the favorite to score for Canada is Sam Reinhart at plus 150. Like that's really good. Even Mitch Marner down there, plus 250 to score a goal tonight for Canada. Like that is some great numbers.
You take him, the over. Oh, am I still here? Hello?
Hello.
Okay, we're good. Take Reinhardt, the over, Canada money line. I think it's plus 325 on Bet365. I like all three of those to cash tonight.
Yeah, I think I'm very curious. I think Canada's going to come out guns a-blazing, to be honest, and bury a few. That's kind of my prediction of the game.
How many? So we're going to be up in the press box at the Bell Center. Do you know the famous hot dogs up there?
I've heard the speculation. I was actually telling Waz the other day because he's going to the PWHL game that's in Edmonton this Saturday at Sunday, at Rogers Place, and he has press passes for that. And I told him, I was like, if it's anything like the Oilers ones, they do a pretty good job of putting some good za up there.
Yeah, absolutely. So over under 3.5 press box dogs for me and Pat tonight.
Oh, well, I've heard Pat
Over.
likes to munch on some food, so I'm going to say over.
All right. Can you add goalies to the goal scorers? Yeah, I'm sure you'd love to a goalie goal at the Four Nations. Okay, that is a wrap, Lehman. That was good. Some Four Nations talk. Oh, what else you want to say?
We have the video of the Philly call for the Coupe de Jean. It is unbelievable. You're gonna love it.
Time for Mahomes to try and make some magic. A night where he's trying to establish his legacy. Steps his foot, has some RJP right, rushes out to the right-hand side, has a man down front, throws the interception at the 39-yard line. Returning Hampton numbers 25, 20. Cooper Jean down to the 10, down to the 5. Touchdown! Time for Mahomes to try and make some magic. A night where he's trying to establish his...
It's just British.
What was it?
It's just British.
Unbelievable. He is a good English lad. I'll have you know. It's electric stuff.
Yep. All right. That is a wrap. I'll be on the sheet. You should all go there. Daily Face-Off, YouTube. Zach Hyman interview starts in about just over 10 minutes. Then I'll be on at 1:40 Mountain. I'll also be on Gregor later on tonight. I think 3:25 or this afternoon. And then Frank and I are going to be live immediately following the Canada versus Sweden game. So again, head over to the Daily Face-Off YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed over there so you get the alerts. Lehman, enjoy the game tonight, buddy.
You too. I'm excited to hear about your hot dogs.
Yeah, I'll report back on the hot dogs tomorrow on the show. We will be back at noon Mountain Time. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you again tomorrow. Enjoy the hockey tonight. Oil up.